So the movie begins with a garbage strike, and this accumulation of garbage in the city is, of course, a very direct image of how everything is piling up in the city, how the chaos is growing in the city of Gotham. And you see the Joker spinning this sign which says everything must go. And there you go. That's the beginning of the movie. Everything must go. And that's what this movie is about. And because it's going to break down all the narrative structures that we identify in our culture right now. And that is uncomfortable for everybody. And it's uncomfortable even for those who think that they are somehow edgy, somehow that they're the ones who are holding the revolutionary hand. But this movie has nothing to do with that. It's going to break everything apart. And so in a way, the Joker movie is the most punk rock movie that I've seen in a very long time, because it takes on everything and smashes it. So how does it do that? How does it break down the narratives? What it does is that it sets up certain situations. And the situations which it sets up are the situations which you would expect in the current political climate, in the current way that people put facts together or put elements together. And then what it does is it breaks that down. It shatters it as it's setting it up. And so this bully, this big, huge white guy, he's got everything you need to make him look like that bully character. He gives Arthur Fleck a gun. Now, that's what you would expect, of course, because he fits the typified image. But then the Arthur Fleck character takes this gun and he uses it. But he uses it to kill these elite kind of Wall Street types, as he calls them himself. These three young Wall Street types, looking like the Covington kids type of guys. And so already you have this problem, you have this smash, which is that on the one hand, you want to, certain political narratives will want to say, yes, of course, here's this bully type character giving him a gun, being interested in guns, but then the gun is used to kill the elites in society. And so, how do you deal with that? Because the gun ownership in the political narrative of the U.S. is seen as, the powerful who have these guns, and it's the powerful who are defending the use of guns, but now it's used in a kind of revolutionary manner. But even in that scene, again, everything it breaks down, because you see the Joker sitting in the train, and you see these three kind of young rich kids who are bullying this young lady. And so when they come and they beat up on the Joker, they beat up on Arthur Fleck, you feel sorry for him, of course. And you can, that story is typified. These three bullies kind of harassing a young lady. And so finally you think the Joker defends himself and he shoots one of the guys. And so there's this disturbing sense of catharsis in the moment. But then he not only kills the guy, but he goes out and he hunts the third guy down and he shoots him down in cold blood. It's already the narrative of the revolutionary narrative, you would say, is already broken down, because the extra step that he takes to go hunt him down, to shoot him down with a gun, and this gun is an evil thing in let's say left-leaning American narrative. The idea of killing elites is a left-wing fantasy. And so how do you jive these things together in the modern political landscape? So that breaks it down. Another way that the story gets broken down is in the very character of Arthur Fleck himself, because on the one hand, he is portrayed as someone who is poor, someone who is suffering, someone who has been abused. He is portrayed as a victim. But in the modern political landscape today, we have had all this talk about these dangerous incels and these kind of dangerous, lonely guys who are a social threat. So portraying him as a victim, and at the same time having him as being this disturbing character who has become the big boogeyman of the modern world right now. It's very interesting to see. We're not yet going to have a not all incels hashtag. Maybe we should. Who knows? But we see that in that element. And so another way in which all the expectations are broken is that you have this poor character, Arthur Fleck, and his mother, who's writing letters to Thomas Wayne. And so Thomas Wayne is represented as this jerk, and he looks exactly like you would expect him to. A kind of overweight, big guy, with a tuxedo, who talks about people who are not succeeding. He talks about the poor and about the marginalized in society as a bunch of clowns. And so you have the story of this lady who would have, in the past, poor lady would have had an affair with Thomas Wayne. So Thomas Wayne would have shut her up, like an abusive man in the Epstein style, would have shut her up, and she couldn't get anything from him. So she was forced to raise this young man alone. And so, it's like we have it. We've got our narrative. This is the narrative. Big, mean, rich man abuses woman, takes advantage of her. She has a child, and now this child is mentally ill, and that's the story. But then the story is broken because turns out that she's delusional, that it isn't the case, that in fact she adopted this child, and Thomas Wayne is not the Joker's father. And so Thomas Wayne remains a jerk. The things that he said at the beginning are still extremely annoying and extremely disturbing, but then he's also not he's not what the story has brought him up to be. And so the idea that somehow Arthur Fleck would want to wreak vengeance upon him doesn't have any meaning anymore. And so this narrative is broken as well. So constantly in the story, that is what we're seeing. We're seeing expectations brought up, and then those expectations being cut at the knees so that you cannot hold on to the narrative that you think the movie should have in order to justify its existence. And all of these identities that he has are broken down. And so he becomes, in a way, the same kind of anonymous he's adopted. We don't know who his real parents are. His mother is abusing him. And so he is without any identity. He's the picture of nihilism. But the thing about nihilism is that nihilism is not on anybody's side. And that is why so many people are frustrated with it. But the ultimate thing that I think is making people crazy is how it crosses the different narratives together and gives us something which seems impossible, but that people just can't stand to watch, which is that Joker is is this bitter incel character. But then he ends up becoming the figurehead for a type of Occupy Wall Street movement where everybody's wearing a mask. It's a clown mask instead of a Guy Fawkes mask. But you can see that it's all related to the same thing. There are little scenes in the movie where, for example, people hold up signs and it says Wayne fascist, and they have resist signs. And so here is the new bad guy of contemporary culture, this clown incel, lonely guy who lives with his mother, and he is the cause, he is the inspiration for a movement which is an Occupy movement of resistance and anti-fascist movement. And so it's like smash the two narratives together, and no wonder people cannot stand it. Now, mind you, the movie is extremely disturbing. To watch this character become crazy, to watch him kill his mother, to watch him, become this brutal character is extremely unsettling. But in terms of the actual violence, it is no less unsettling than any other movie that has that type of story in it. You know, the movie It just came out 2 weeks ago. There are all these horror movies which usually come out in the month of October. We are in the month of October. We know this is the month for horror movies, but somehow this movie is the one that is freaking people out, and that's what it is. It really is. That's what's so unsettling about the movie, is that everything must go. The whole thing is the entire narrative, all the narratives are thrown up in the air, smashed together, and broken down, and very few people can handle that. And I understand why they can't handle it. But what it can help us see, if we're attentive, it can help us understand what kind of narratives we are attached to. What are the stories that we think are the stories which are unfolding before us? What is holy to us? And that's what a clown does. A clown is always pointing and taking apart the things that you care about. The clown is always turning things upside down. He's always making fun of the things that we hold dear. That is the role of a clown. And just because some people think that they're right and that their narrative is the only narrative, doesn't mean that there won't be a clown there to poke at it.